Hey folks, it's Ben. If you're cool like me and you have a cool van like me, but you want to make it a little cooler, there are little upgrades that we can do. You can paint your hubcaps, you can put in raised white letter tires, but even cooler than that is we can fix our taillights. Now what do I mean by fix? Well, in this regard, we have taillights and they're fully functional, so they do what they're supposed to do. There are 4 bulbs in this taillight assembly, and when I bought the van, I assumed that they all would be brake or they all would be blinker, but come to find out, they're not. Only the lower 2 are actually brakes and blinkers. These are just running lights. Let me throw you on a tripod and I'll demonstrate exactly what we're talking about. So I'll turn the headlights on and then I'll hit the brakes and then I'll run the blinkers and you guys will see exactly what's going. For the record, I do have an upper light out. I knew that, but that's fine. We'll fix it with this. Now when I hit the brakes, I get 4 out of the 8 lights going. And when I run the blinker, I've got 2 of the 4 lights blinking on this side. And when I hit the brakes, I just get the 2 on the other side to show brake. And part 3 of this whole awesomeness, it's blinking fine. It's kind of slow, but we're going to be addressing that. Pull a copy out here. Let's go look at this inside. Here's our taillight assembly essentially. So we have our 2 lower sockets here, which are a 2057, I believe, bulb. And you can see it's a bigger socket. You got to press the tab, turn it counterclockwise, and it comes out and boom, there's your bulb, a weather seal to keep it in theory dry. And in this bulb, there's 2 elements. You have the running light portion of your element, and in this case of this wiring harness, it's brown, so all the brown wire that you see going to each plug is your running lights. So these 2 are the same, but these 2 are small. In fact, this one's already out. And if you counterclockwise turn this one out as well, boom, you got these 2 little running lights, and they only have a brown wire going to them, so they'll only ever be running lights. But what I would like to do is to take these big guys and have them up here as well. Now to do that, you need more of these plugs, and conveniently, I have some. I was able to score some other ones here. So we've got these big assemblies that you see here. The wires actually go all the way through back to this plug here. So we'll have to unfortunately destroy this harness to get these 2 plugs ready, but you'll notice they're quite a bit larger than these little guys here too. So we're going to need to drill out and tab out these holes you see right here. So you can see that we've got a big hole there with 3 notches in it. We're going to need to drill these out and then use a Dremel tool, a cutting tool, to actually put those 3 notches in these so that we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 lights. That will be running lights or brake or blinker depending on what size. But the reality is that this hole is actually the size I need. So cutting to the chase, it looks like it wants to get drilled up, not cut out. So we're going to use the proper size hole that just barely, it's a little too big for that. We're just going to drill that right out, and it fits right in the hole. So that gets us our hole size anyway for our socket. Kind of made a mess with the Dremel on this one. So that worked out pretty good. We got some good sized holes now. They should be a little bit bigger than what we need, which is fine because we got these big gaskets that kind of keep everything really tight on there. So the next step that we have to do is cut these little notches out, and that allows our assembly to fit in and then hopefully turn. Now, when I first kind of tried it with the Dremel, I cut off the edge. So this is actually perfect thickness for the socket to go in and turn. I got a little bit of bigness here, but this one, which we just drilled out straight, it's just a lip, like it goes right back down around. So I think I might have to take the Dremel and cut the lip off from the inside before I then go and cut my notches, my keyholes, I guess if you call them. And then I'll use the bit for that hopefully. Apparently I lost a video segment, so here's a quick fill-in. To cut these notches, you actually use just a cutting blade on a Dremel, and you can actually come in and cut and pull back, and it'll essentially melt this plastic. So you just pull it back to the size you need approximately. Now you don't need it this deep, like these are fairly deep, but the holes we drilled with our hole saw are actually a little bit bigger, so they can be a lot shallower and still work out just fine. So I think we're in business. These are much smaller indents. Come on out. They're really just little nicks. That gives that bulb enough bite, so if we're gonna have to run this socket under. And yeah, if it big on the side here, really push it in, really push it down, squish that gasket a ton. Yeah. And for the most part, stays in there pretty well. So I think we're good. So holes drilled, check. Next we need to modify our wiring harnesses. We have a new harness here, which has a nice plug. All the plugs appear to be the same, so we're good in regards to exchangeability. Not that it matters, because all the bulbs are going to be doing the same thing anyway. Now, if you only get one set of pigtails and bulbs, you're kind of hosed. You gotta lose somebody. Now you can go to any GM car and get the socket, right? This is the pigtail out of the 1995 Pontiac Bonneville I have. Same light socket, it's got a little arm on it there, but same light socket, and it'll fit, and I'm sure there's space that it'll actually work on this taillight assembly is fine. So you can use these sockets too, but because I grabbed all the pigtails, I have an extra set of pigtails. So what I'm gonna do now, and time lapse, is we're going to extract these big bulbs with their So what we've been able to extract from the harness, as you kind of saw, was, here's a complete one, is you can just take this off. It's just slid through there. From the outlet back, you can just undo all the tape, and it essentially shows you that, just like we thought, there's one yellow wire that comes down, and then that yellow wire then continues to this one. So this will be our middle, that'll be our top. You've got 2 browns here for the running light portion, and 2 grounds for the grounding portion. So you only have 5 wires to connect here. Alrighty, with the new plugs in, so what we have here is that my pigtails for the running lights are short. Well, I presume running lights, and must be for the blinker too. And then I have the second pigtail, which has the yellow as well. So what we're gonna do is a direct swap for the lights that come up here, the running lights. We'll actually splice the brown and the black, and the brown and the black to these 2 lights here. There'll be a straight, we'll just solder the connections. I'll time lapse that. And then with the yellow, we are going to have to intercept. So we are gonna have to violate a wire here. So what I plan on doing is, let's see, which one do I want to steal? I think we'll probably do this one because it's the easiest, but we'll actually just take and cut this one, cut them back, solder them all together. They should be all the same. We're not dealing with a lot of voltage or amperage here anyway. So we'll splice this one for our brakes, and that'll automatically pass up to this one. And actually that would be it. So we're talking what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 splices, soldering. So that hot mess is now done. So I was really questioning whether I should actually, put them end to end and make them straight and solder them together and then put some heat shrink on them. But I'm thinking, nope, I'd rather have the physical twist, then solder them together, then just tape them up. GM doesn't have any issues with tape. So, and we put a little bit of dielectric grease on the connection. So hopefully, because we're fighting moisture back here, there is technically, even though it is sealed against the body, there is a moisture path. It does possibly get wet back here because there's a water seal here. So it's limited, but there's still the possibility of water getting in here and wrecking our connections. Although with grease and all that fun stuff, it's fairly low. So we have our lights set in. All our lights are hooked up. So this actually gets hooked up to the car now. But what I'm actually going to do is, next thing up is to do that one. And what I'm going to do is actually put bulbs in now. And as a treat, and I don't know if it's going to work or not, because we haven't tried it out on my trial vehicle there, because we've had some wiring issues. So we're actually going to run LED bulbs in these as well. So there'll be a 2057 LED bulb equivalent, then plugged in. And then we'll see how that looks, and see if it tweaks our blinker. And we'll go from there. So next one's that. And then I think the next time I'll see you, we'll be at the van. So we have our new lamp assembly here. And this is the left side tail light you have here. And we have our wiring jigger, which I should make sure I get everything stuffed in nicely. I did use some tape, but you know, it's still prototype, AKA if it put it in and it runs, we're never touching it again. But if it doesn't, then it's easier to tear apart. Let's go with that. So we have our prototype. This is just a rubber grommet in the hole. And there's actually, and you can see it in this shot, the plug sits right back there. And it's actually, on this one, it's clipped in. On other vans, it wasn't. It was either down there or hard to see. And it's actually a two-prong. So it's actually got a plastic piece that fits in here, and then it clicks in. It's kind of a two-way thing to do it. Well, I'm not worried about it falling apart. I understand why they would do it for safety reasons. But what I'm going to do is actually hold this over here, because I have to hold the taillight up and plug the plug in. And I didn't polish the lenses because actually I need to use the van tomorrow. So we're just scooting this one right along. But I'm going to bend that back so I can get that plug in like so. And get it clipped in. Meanwhile, these were filthy, but it rained. So it actually cleaned out all the dirt. So that's clicked in. So we can kind of stuff that down there. And for now, I'm going to leave it like this and set it down. And let's go do the other side. And then we'll do some testing. Proof's in the pudding. Running lights are on. That is not new. This would have done it all the time. These upper lights are so bright. They're giving me glare. That's awesome. Okay, so that's working. I guess I need the keys next, or can I run the hazard lights? Let's try the hazard lights. Because it's a different type of relay. Oh yeah, look at that. Had me questioning for a second that they were doing the same speed. So that's the blinking lights. And if I turn off these lights, that's interesting. Why is it beeping? Blinkers won't work unless I have the key in it. So in concept it works. Okay, fans on. No blinking action. Did it blink? Or did the camera? No blinking action, but this one's brighter than this one, I think. Let's go ahead and put the camera on a tripod. Oh, it's definitely, from here you can definitely tell that this side is. They're also not pointed backwards, right? Because they're just hanging there right now, but I should be able to turn it on off. I'm not getting blinking. So this should have gone dim. That should be brighter. Now the issue I have is I have daytime running lights, and that turns on, well, I have Twilight Sentinel, so it's dark out, so it's going to run the headlights whether I want it to or not when the vehicle is on. So I'm going to always have them dim like that during this dark type of conditions. So that's what that is. So we have nailed it. We got that going on. We also have LED lights in here, so we're fancy now. These are clearly LED lights because, man, they're bright. That one too. But next up, we have the annoying issue of why aren't our blinkers blinking? And that's because of this. This is a blinker relay. And how it works is that the amount of current that goes through it causes the click and the clack to change. So when everything is perfect and all the bulbs are there and they're resistance bulbs like these over here, it goes click, clack, click, clack, you know, your typical blinker scenario. Why it's done like this is if you lose a tail light or a blinker bulb, it will change the way your blinkers blink. So it'll either blink too much, or in our case, it will blink slow. And in fact, with the LEDs, it will just blink and not unblink. So a typical current-based blinker won't work. So this is what we have to change. What do you change it with? This guy right here. This is an EL12L-1. This is from Napa. It's a flasher, but it's based on circuitry, not current. So what it does, and I'll take it out of the box here, it's actually clear, just like this one over here. And it looks similar, but it's got that circuit board on there. And what that is, it's timer logic. So it still does the clicking, but what it actually does is it doesn't matter how much current is going through it, it blinks at the same rate regardless. Now, where does it get its power from? Well, the blinker circuit, obviously. But how does it blink and not shut itself off? And that's what the pigtail's for. This is a ground. So it actually takes some of the power that runs the blinkers and runs the logic board. And this is that power, this is the ground for the logic board, and the rest goes to the blinkers. So this little timer guy will keep the blinkers constantly blinking. I've used one of these before, they're pretty cool. So now we just have to go to the van. It's the same plug style even. We just need to unplug this one, plug this one in, land this ground somewhere, groundy, and that should fix our blinker problem. So for those of you playing the home game, we have to take out this panel here that's underneath the steering column that you see. So I have a screw here, and there should be one here, but there isn't. There should be probably a bolt or a retainer there and there, which once again, I don't have. And yeah, that should be it for me. And my I got an LED bulb connected here, and we're gonna leave that down because I think we're at where we need to be. So now we're underneath the column here, and we're looking for that round relay that might even be clear. It's not right under the column where it was like on the Fieros, and since they're not blinking, I can't turn it on and listen to it click, but actually is right there behind the brake release lever on this model there. So if I go and take, and it's barely held in there with just a little clip, but you can see it's, and it won't be hard to find the ground. You wiggle it up, like so. It should wiggle up. It's made out of tin because it needs to go tink when you blink it, right? Come on down. So here's the blinker relay. This one is not fancy, but what we can do is I'll tripod you and we'll pull it out and put the new one in. This looks like it's on good metal. And since we're in the neighborhood anyway, we got to be within a certain space of it. So we should be able to, those look like quarter. This one's right up here. That's the one we'll try and grab, and we'll just kind of sneak our guy in there. See if that works. Okay, so the moment of truth. We've got this plugged in, we got our ground there. Gotta turn the lights on. Blinkers. Hear the ticking. Oh yeah. Check it. Running lights, blinker lights. Sweet. Other side. Yes, you bet. Awesome sauce. So we can put the lights back, we can put the interior back together, and then we'll do a final shoot of kind of run through the paces on this thing, and we'll be golden. So if you hear in the background, my light's on while the car is not on, dinging light, dings with the hazards. That's kind of neat. Anyway, I never use hazard lights, so it's not a big deal. If you have any questions on this modification of taking the 2 lamps that worked and just 2 running lamps and actually converting them over to be all functional, and of course they decrease in size as well, so it's kind of a neat feeling. Ask them if you have questions. Comments, leave them. This is like a hack you would do like 20 years ago on a van like this, but it's like, why are we wasting bulb space? Fantastic. And subscribe to my channel, Turbo231, for more awesome van mods. Actually, there are more awesome van mods coming up to trailer it, dealing with the dash in the front end. But this was just one it needed to get done because it's like, you need all the attention, right? It needs to all work. So with that, I'll leave you at 20 seconds of blinking hazard lights and a mild ding. Yeah, we can do that. Don't want to use the front. That's just normal. They all blink together. That's neat. On the Fieros, they alternate back and forth. But anyway, cards should be running. That's just really cool.